Ah, well, hello, everybody. This is just a quick little thing. I was kind of bored. So, this idea popped into my head. I'm not sure if we'll do it or not, but kind of run it by you and see what you think. Well, hello, Iron Rabbit. My rabbit. And Cynthia. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the green dragon. Yeah, that was Shizzy's idea. He asked me if I wanted to change it, and I said, no, I like it the way it is. I did change the music, though, because I wanted to avoid any issues. So, how's everybody's morning? I just couldn't sleep, so I've been up for a little bit. And this idea popped into my head. I had read this book quite a while ago. It's been a while. And my wife was like, oh, you should read that. I think that although it is a parody, I think this is how Tolkien really envisioned Lord of the Rings being. So, I thought I'd just do the prologue and see what is the other part. Oh, the beginnings leading into the... Yeah. Just to see what people think. This is something we can do. We may end up getting in trouble for it, for all I know. I don't know. I just felt like reading it, just for the hell of it. You've been up all night? Yeah. Yeah, it's been one of those weird nights again. Got a couple hours of sleep. But that happens. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do with this yet. I don't know. All right. I think we've waited enough. I wasn't planning on making this very long anyway. Just kind of felt like doing it. Running it by you. Anybody doing a afterwatch can leave a comment too and tell me what they think. They think this is a story that we should do. And I'll look into it more. But yeah, I think this is how Tolkien's wanted Lord of the Rings to be. So, we'll go ahead and just start. I think this book is predominantly concerned with making money, and from its pages, a reader may learn much more about the character and literary integrity of the authors. Of bogies, however, he will discover next to nothing, since anyone in the possession of mere moiety of his marbles will readily concede that such creatures could only exist in the minds of children of the sort whose childhoods are spent in wicker baskets, and who grew up to be muggers, dog thieves, and insurance salesmen. Nonetheless, judging from the sales of Professor Tolkien's interesting books, this is a rather sizable group, sporting the kind of scorch marks on their pockets that only the spontaneous combustion of heavy wads of crumpled money can produce. For such readers, we have collected here a few bits of racial slander concerning bogies, culled by placing Professor Tolkien's book on the floor in a neat pile and going over them countless times in a series of skips and short hops. For them, we also include a brief description of the soon-to-be-published If This Incredible Dog Sells accounts of Dildo Bugger's earlier adventures called by him Travels with Goddamn in Search of Lower Middle-earth, but wisely renamed by the publisher Valley of the Trolls. Bogies are an unattractive but annoying people whose numbers have decreased rather precipitously since the bottom fell out of the fairy tale market. Slow and sullen, and yet dull, they prefer to lead simple lives of pastoral squalor. They don't like machines more complicated than a garrote or a blackjack or a Luger, and they have always been shy of the big folk, or biggers, as they call us. As a rule, they now avoid us, except on rare occasions when 100 or so will get together to dry gulch a lone farmer or a hunter. They are a little people, smaller than dwarves, who consider them puny, sly, and inscrutable, and often refer to them as the bogey peril. They seldom exceed 3 feet in height, but are fully capable of overpowering creatures half their size when they get the drop on them. As for the bogies of the sty, with whom we are chiefly concerned, they are unusually drab, dressing in shiny gray suits with narrow lapels, alpine hats, and string ties. They wear no shoes, and they walk on a pair of hairy blunt instruments which can only be called feet because of the position they occupy at the end of their legs. Their faces have a pimply malevolence that suggests a deep-seated fondness for making obscene telephone calls, and when they smile, there is something in the way they wag their foot-long tongues that makes Komodo dragons gulp with disbelief. They have long, clever fingers, of the sort one normally associates with hands that spend a good deal of time around the necks of small, furry animals and in other people's pockets, and they are skillful at producing intricate and useful things like loaded dice and booby traps. They love to eat and drink, play mumbledy-peg with dim-witted quadrupeds, and tell off-colored dwarf jokes. They give dull parties and cheap presents, and they enjoy the same general regard and esteem as a dead otter. It is plain that bogies are relatives of ours, standing somewhere along the evolutionary line that leads from rats to wolverines, and eventually to Italians. But what our exact relationship is cannot be told. Their beginnings lie far back in the good old days when the planet was populated with the kind of colorful creatures you have to drink a quart of old overcoat to see nowadays. The elves alone preserve any record of that time, and most of them are filled with elf stuff, raunchy pictures of naked trolls, and sordid accounts of orc orgies. But the bogies had clearly lived in lower Middle Earth for a long time before the days of Frito and Dildo, when, like a very old salami that suddenly makes its presence known, they came to trouble the council of the small and the silly. This was all in the third or sheet metal age of lower Middle Earth, and the lands of the age have long since dropped into the sea, and their inhabitants into bell jars at Ripley's Believe It or Not auditorium. Of their original home, the bogies of Frito's time had lost all records, partly because their level of literacy and intellectual development could have been equaled by a young blowfish, and partly because their fondness of genealogical studies made them dislike the notion that their elaborately forged family trees had roots about as steady as Burnham wood. It is nevertheless clear from their heavy accents and their fondness for dishes cooked in brill cream that somewhere in their past they went west in steerage. Their legends and old songs, which deal mainly with oversexed elves and dragons and heat, make passing mention of the area around the Anison River between Plywood and the Papier-Mâché Mountains. There are other records in the great libraries of Tudor which lend credence to such a notion, old articles in the Police Gazette and the like. They decided to undertake the perilous crossing onto Oleodor is... Wait a minute. Why they decided to take the perilous crossing into Oleodor is uncertain, though again, their songs tell of a shadow that fell upon the land so that the potatoes grew no more. Before the crossing of the Papier-Mâché Mountains, the bogies had become divided into three distinct breeds: clubfoots, stools, and noggerhides. The clubfoots, by far the most numerous, were swarthy, shifty-eyed, and short. Their hands and feet were as deft as crowbars. They preferred to live in the hillsides where they could mug rabbits and small goats. Valhalla's clan. And they supported themselves by hiring out as torpedoes for the local dwarf population. The stools were larger and oilier than the clubfoots, and they lived in the fetid lands at the mouth and other orifices of the Anison River, where they raised yaws and goiters for the river trade. They had long, shiny black hair, and they loved knives. Their closest relations were with men for whom they handled occasional rub-outs. Least numerous were the noggerhides, who were taller and wispier than the other bogies, and who lived in the forest, where they maintained a thriving trade in leather goods, sandals, and handicrafts. They did periodic interior decorating work for the elves, but spent most of their time singing lurid folk songs and accosting squirrels. That would be Volstorm. He hates tree rats. Once across the mountains, the bogies lost no time establishing themselves. They shortened their names and elbowed their way into all the country clubs, dropping their old language and customs like a live grenade. An unusual easterly migration of men and elves from Oleodor at this time make it possible to fix the date that the bogies came on the scene with some accuracy. In the same year, the 1623rd year of the Third Age, the Noggerhide brothers, Brasso and Drano, led a large following of bogies across the Galwine River, disguised as a band of itinerant grave robbers, and took control from the High King at Rib Roast. In return for the king's grudging acquiescence, they set up toll booths on the roads and bridges, waylaid his messengers, and sent him suggestive and threatening letters. In short, they settled down for a long stay. Thus began the history of the sty and the bogies, with an eye to the statutes of limitations, starting a new calendar dating from the crossing of the Galwine. They were quite happy with their new land, and once again they dropped out of history of men, an occurrence which has greeted with the same universal sense of regret as the sudden death of a mad dog. The sty was marked with a great red splotch on all the AAA maps, and the only people who ever passed through were either hopelessly lost or completely unhinged. Interesting. Aside from these rare visitors, the bogies were left entirely to themselves until the time of Frito and Dildo. While there was still a king at Rib Roast, the bogies remained nominally his subjects, and to the last battle of Rib Roast with the slumlord of Borax, they sent some snipers, though who they sided with is unclear. There the North Kingdom ended, and the bogies returned to their well-ordered simple lives, eating and drinking, singing and dancing, and passing bad checks. Nonetheless, the easy life of the sty had left the bogies fundamentally unchanged, and they were still as hard to kill as a cockroach, and as easy to deal with as a cornered rat. Though likely to attack only in cold blood and killing only for money, they remained masters of the low blow and the gang-up. They were crack shots and very handy with all sorts of equalizers, and any small, slow, and stupid beast that turned its back on a crowd of bogies was looking for a stomping. All bogies lived in holes, which is, after all, hardly surprising for creatures on a first-name basis with rats. In Dildo's time, their abodes were for the most part built above ground in the manner of elves and men, but these still retained many of the features of their traditional homes, and were indistinguishable from the dwellings of those species whose chief function is to meet their makers around August, deep in the walls of old houses. As a rule, they were dumpling-shaped, built of mulch, silt, stray divots, and other seasonal deposits, often whitewashed by irregular pigeons. Consequently, most bogie towns looked as though some very large and untidy creature, perhaps a dragon — why are they picking on dragons? — had quite recently suffered a series of disappointing bowel movements in the vicinity. In the sty as a whole, there were at least a dozen of these curious settlements, linked by a system of roads, post offices, and a government that would have been considered unusually crude for a colony of cherrystone clams. The sty itself was divided into farthings, half-farthings, and Indian head nickels, ruled by a mayor who was elected in a flurry of ballot box stuffing every Arbor Day. To assist him in his duties, there was a rather large police force, which did nothing but extract confessions, mostly from squirrels. And their chief was Volstorm, because he hates tree rats. Beyond these few tokens of regulation, the sty betrayed no signs of government. The vast majority of the bogies' time was taken up growing food and eating it, and making liquor and drinking it. The rest of it was spent throwing up. Of the finding of the rings. I'll take a break and see what you guys are doing. Wait, what? Wait, there's a dildo on this. Okay, let me go back. All right. Yeah, I've been up all night. Gutters, Bob. Zach. Yeah. So, this is a parody story. Yeah. Dildo. Frito. Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I first read this thing several years ago. I was just crying, laughing. This is just getting an idea of this is something that we should actually read. The actual story. All right. As is told in the volume of previous to this Hound, Valley of the Trolls, Dildo Bugger set out one day with a band of demented dwarves and a discredited Roscurian named Goodgulf to separate a dragon from his horde of short-termed municipals and convertible debentures. The quest was successful, and the dragon, a pre-war basilisk who smelled like a bus, was taken from behind while he was clipping coupons. And yet, though many pointless and annoying deeds were done, This adventure would concern us a good deal less, if it does, if that is possible, except for a bit of petty larceny Dildo did along the way to keep his hands in. The party was ambushed in the Mealy Mountains by a roving pack of narcs, and in hurrying to the aid of the embattled dwarves, Dildo somehow lost his sense of direction and ended up in a cave a considerable distance away. Finding himself at the mouth of a tunnel which led rather precipitously down, Dildo suffered a temporary recurrence of an old inner ear problem and went rushing along to it in a rescue, as he thought of his friends. After running for some time and finding nothing more than a tunnel, he was beginning to feel he had taken a wrong turn somewhere when the passage abruptly ended in a large cavern. When Dildo's eyes became adjusted to the pale light, he found that the grotto was almost filled by a wide kidney-shaped lake where a nasty-looking clown named Goddamn paddled noiselessly about on an old rubber seahorse. He ate raw fish, and occasionally side orders to travel from the outside world in the form of lost travelers like Dildo. And he greeted Dildo's unexpected entrance into his underground sauna in much the same way as he would the sudden arrival of a chicken delight truck. But like anyone with bogey ancestry, Goddamn preferred the subtle approach in assaulting creatures over 5 inches high and weighing more than 10 pounds, and consequently, he challenged Dildo to a riddle game to gain time. Dildo, who had a sudden attack of amnesia regarding the fact that the dwarves were being made into chutney outside the cave, accepted. They asked each other countless riddles, such as, who played the Cisco Kid, and what was Krypton? In the end, Dildo won the game. Stumped at last for a riddle to ask, he cried out as his hand fell on his snub-nosed .38, "What have I got in my pocket?" At this, Goddamn failed to answer, and growing impatient, he paddled up to Dildo, whining, let me see. Dildo obliged by pulling out the pistol and emptying it at Goddamn's direction. The dark spoiled his aim, and he managed only to deflate the rubber duck, leaving Goddamn to flounder. Goddamn, who couldn't swim, reached out his hand to Dildo and begged him to pull him out, and he did. And as he did, Dildo noticed an interesting-looking ring on his finger and pulled it off. He would have finished Goddamn off then and there, but pity stayed his hand. It's a pity I've run out of bullets, he thought, as he went back up the tunnel, pursued by Goddamn's cries of rage. Now, it is a curious fact that Dildo never told this story, explaining that he had gotten the ring from a pig's nose or a gumball machine. He couldn't remember which. Good Gulf, who was naturally suspicious, finally managed, with the aid of one of his secret potions, to drag the truth out of the bogey, and it disturbed him considerably that Dildo, who was a perpetual and compulsive liar, would not have concocted a more grandiose tale from the start. It was then, some 50 years before our story begins, that Good Gulf first guessed at the ring's importance, and he was, as usual, dead wrong. I forget how ridiculous this story is. Anyway. Spending it filming through YouTube. It's only when and then I get to land. Well, good. I'm glad I amuse you, Cynthia. At least I make somebody laugh. All right. So yeah, so that's part of it. That's the openings of this book, the story. So I don't know. Just keep talking. We're almost there. You so dirty. Mm-hmm. What a lovely way to start the morning. Yeah, so for those of you that'll catch up later on, you can let me know what you want to do with this. I don't think I'd worry about doing a recording on it. I think we just do some live readings for it. It's a little long. It's close to 200 pages, I think. Something like that. So we might have to break it up. For this Saturday, we'll need to finish that other story that we started anyway. So how's everybody doing? So yeah, so I don't know. What do y'all think? You like it? You laugh? Yeah, it gets. Yeah, there's some other parts in there where they sing weird songs too, and I'm just telling you right now, I'm not fucking singing any songs. I'll tell you that right now. Not only because these songs in particular are friggin' ridiculous, but I'm just not going to sing them. It wouldn't matter anyway. So yeah. Well, today is, for some reason I keep thinking it's Thursday, but it's not. It's Wednesday. No. Sing, baby, sing. Yeah, no. I don't think you really want that. You're going back to the doc on tomorrow? Okay. Is that just for like your medication review or just regular follow-up? Singing lightens the soul. Yeah, it also makes you deaf. I'm telling you. Yep, telling you. Frank Sinatra, I am not. You're trying to get me breathing better. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, let us know. Don't get lightheaded on the inspirometer. Yeah, so in case I can't remember if I think I said hi to Zach too. But anyway, so everybody that's here, Iron Rabbit, Cynthia, Gutters Pub, Zach. Yeah, Iron Rabbit, Gutters Pub, Zach, and Cynthia. And D. Robertson. Yeah, there we go. Thank you all for being here. I know this was just a... You'll breathe fast and furious. Whatever. You so crazy. You just saying that. Well, I don't know what to do now. I kind of did what I wanted to do and just read that and see what you guys thought. I don't know if we get in trouble for it or not, to tell you the truth. I have to look into it more. But my wife was like, "Yeah, you should read that because she likes it." I remember it because when I first read that this story, I was just dying laughing. And then after we met, she would have me read to her sometimes. And so I read this to her, and it was the same thing. She loves this story. She thought it was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, and then I tried to read, and there was a couple other ones that they did too. And I think one of them was an attempt at a takeoff, and I might have to do it again at like Harry Potter, and I don't know. This one just seemed to be the funniest one. Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's pretty funny. No, Rabbit, I haven't set anything up like that. I'm probably gonna need to do that, just because I'm still reluctant to what do they call that stupid thing? The partnership. Yeah. Partnership program or whatever it is. Just because I think between the three, especially because a lot of people out there, you guys use your phones. And if you have an iPhone, by the time you figure in Microsoft, and you're getting screwed over twice because Google owns YouTube. So you got Microsoft, Google, and YouTube. All three of them got their claws in your pocket. So what you're seeing on the super chats and super stickers, somebody else out there does it more than I've ever done it, obviously. Let me know the difference. But the better part, closer to 50% than not, is gone between those three. Well, to me, that's just a huge ripoff to whoever the creator is, as well as whoever's donating. I think it's a bunch of shit. So, yeah, eventually I will have to set up but then I got to do different accounts and all that stuff too. So, anyway, some of us want to support the dragons. Yeah, these assholes in here making fun of the dragons. Whatever. I don't care about my dragon. But yeah, eventually that is something that I need to get set up. And then yeah, now they get upset about the mention of the what is that thing that happens with thunder and the rumble that happens, with like thunder and lightning. They get upset when you mention that. But yeah. But you need to diversify. And of course, I have no idea where any of this stuff is going to go with that latest ruling that happened against Google and their monopoly bullshit. So who knows what's going to happen. But anyway. So anything else going on? PayPal? Yeah. So I know, what is it? I know they're on the lower end, Rabbit. Yeah. I know they're on the much less lower end. Yeah, PayPal is like 2-3%, something like that. So, I mean, you're going to have to do it one way or the other. But when Google and YouTube together are double fucking you, it's just irritating to me. Even more so. And they were screwing me, like people like me over in the beginning. I'm sure Gutters Pub has noticed, other people as well. Long before, I mean, like when we first started this, it's just now, the 25th or 26th or whatever, was just a year since we started doing this. And of course, as I said before, this is at the behest of quite a few of you in here and other people. Wallace! Ballstorm! What's up? So, you were in this story. And, yeah. So, apparently you are the chief of police and you are going around and just torturing the tree rats, the squirrels. No, not really. I just threw that in there. Yeah, so that's when we started up. But anyway, so that was when I got noticed from like I had like just 100 subscribers or something like that. Still nowhere near the watch hours. And I got a notice from a couple of Miami Spice, a couple of other people. Oh, congratulations on monetization, blah blah blah. What are you talking about? I'm not anywhere close to that. Well, they were getting commercials and shit. Well, that's because YouTube can do that, and there's nothing you can do about it. So they screw you over from the beginning anyway. But whatever. Yeah. Don't toy shame me. Dildo. Yeah. And Frito. And Pepsi. Pepsi's in here too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we may just end up having to do that. But it is a pretty funny story. So, what, do I still need, oh yeah, I still need watch hours. Well, because what they'll do is, I still can't wrap my brain, excuse me, around everything, but what is it? You get it within a 30-day or something like that. They'll kick you back in your hours if you're not keeping up, because that previous 30 days rolls off, and then hours, I'm still not sure exactly how it is that they calculate all this crap, but yeah. So watch hours come and go. You see it happen. It's just like how they'll just arbitrarily, oh, you must be buying bots or something like that, because I've got millions of subscribers, and they'll just arbitrarily unsubscribe people, and it's the way they work their watch hours, and because you can watch your watch hours actually go up and down, which is just so weird. So, yeah. Pepsi, all the good things, yeah. If I'm trying to remember right, I think the one's name is Moxie too, or something. Moxie and Pepsi or some shit like that. Good goal. Yeah. It's pretty funny. But anyway. Well, if there's nothing really else going on, I was just going to do this as a short one, just to throw this out there and see what people thought, whether or not we should read this. I know there's some Tolkien fans, so now whether or not they'll appreciate the parody part, I don't know. Don't care. It's just funny. And of course, we always like to have fun. That's why everybody needs to make sure that they watch Ballstorm and Diva and Shizzy and myself over on Shizzy Chen and Pineapple Kaiser on Sundays, when we do all our stupid voices and act like idiots. I, of course, am the only serious one there. I think I'm the only one that does any justice to any stories. Yeah, I need to, and that's the other thing too. Yeah, with Civil War stories, I need to get some more of that stuff. I got some strange, odd. I've got a bunch of Civil War books. Yeah, strange and odd stories. And then I need to finish up that other story that I was looking into. That's an unsolved mystery, unsolved history type story about a young girl. Yeah. Just a few more things I needed to look into on that and see if I can get a hold of. But Okay, the Kaiser. What about the Kaiser? We have fun if nobody else does. Yeah, I know. Oh, those tears. Oh, man, the other night. Oh, my stomach. Telling you, tears are real, man. My shop towels get used a lot. Yeah. Rabbit. Thank you. Throwing out Caliber and Character, Ballstorm and Diva. Although the other night, Ballstorm just had the Sausage Fest, which, whatever. Apparently I missed out on Diva. It's fine, whatever. But yeah, so they do that. And then Diva, when she does her painting stuff too. And hopefully she'll do more of those because, well, winter is coming. And she's supposed to do more paintings and stuff with Ballstorm. Or Valhalla, sorry. When he's not in the barn, churning his butter most vigorously. Okay. Well, I think we've accomplished our goal for this morning. Yeah, and her and Valhalla are working on something. Yeah. Oh. Well, I'm going to let you kids go. And I'm going to see if I can go back to sleep for a little bit. Doubtful. But I'll see. Anyway. I will see you all later. I'm sure somewhere there's a trial or something going on. Well, finally, that Wade Wilson asshole finally got sentenced to old Sparkier the Needle or something. So, yeah, fuck that guy. Piece of shit. Anyway. And we're still waiting on that other numbnut from Nevada. Fucking tell us. That little cocksucker, too. Alrighty. Well, thank you for putting all that stuff out. Thank you to everybody else for being here. And we'll see you guys later on. Leave in the comments what you think, whether or not you want to actually go over this story. It'll probably take us a couple times, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Other than that, I'm going to play you out. Bye. Thank you.